present its case to the judges. I will show a board for the 10, 5, last 2 minutes, and last 30 seconds of the presentation. During the last 10 seconds of the speech, I will indicate by means of my two hands the number of remaining seconds. A team that having ended its presentation after 20 minutes will be stopped to move on to the period of question. A period of question of a maximum duration of 5 minutes is assigned to the jury at the end of the presentation. I would like to remind the jury that it's mandatory to ask at least one question during this period. I will invite the judges to introduce themselves, and then you can begin.
Hi, my name is Mary Pierre Martin, and I am a manager at Assumption Life.
My name is Pablo Montreuil. I'm president of Sparks Advisory Group.
So you can have a very, very strong circuit that's built with high quality materials. However, if there's a tiny little break in that circuit, it simply won't work. Similarly, an organization can be extremely high performing, have great compensation plan, have great motivated employees. However, if they are not receptive to change, it simply won't work. Good afternoon, managing our team of Assumption Life. My name is Nicolette, and these are my colleagues Camille and Celine, and we are here from SWORD Consulting today to help you connect the circuit.
So today we're going to go throughout the SWORD system. First, we're going to scan through Assumption Life. We're going to organize our idea, recommend the winning solution, and finally deliver on our strategic HR plan for you. So let's start by scanning. Simply, you have a goal today with your organization. So you want to receive a professional advice from us here today to ensure that your workplace will develop with your development program, so that your project development will go smoothly with the change in your workplace. So today's SWORD, we have a different mandate that goes hand in hand with it, is to provide your company with a strategic HR plan to ensure that there is constant organizational justice. So let's dive right into it, into our key performance indicators of what we're looking to achieve today with that SWORD mandate.
So how do you know that we've delivered your mandate correctly? It's simple. We can measure the success by using 3 key performance indicators. After the SWORD solution has implemented, you will see 95 employees are satisfied. Then you will see 85% of your employees are engaged, as well as 100% of your employees feel psychologically safe in your work environment.
Perfect. So now let's move on to the organized portion of the presentation. So we have created an analysis of what we found are sort of problems that could become opportunities for your company for Assumption Life today. So first, there is a conflict between the generations, as it was mentioned in the case, with the restructuration of your workspace that is currently ongoing, planning to take place in February 2017. It has created a gap between employees that are more senior and less senior. And so that's something we will address. With that gap has come jealousy between some of your employees, which does affect the work relation. And so hence why we want employees to feel more psychologically safe in your workplace. A third point here is the resistance to change. Like Nikki mentioned at the beginning, the circuit needs to be completed at all times so that you can have the optimal work organization, and so your organization can strive in the future. And so with those 3 points, some risks might come up in the future if they are not addressed. They can be a loss of commitment from your employees, a loss of productivity, and a lack of cooperation and teamwork, which are some of your key values. So let's move on to some of the financial analysis if we keep going in that direction for your company. So just to come back here, we think that those 3 points show a lack of procedural justice within your organization. So now let's move on to the financials.
So just to touch upon what Camille said, currently the renovations are taking place in your organization. Some employees get doors, 25% of your employees stayed in the case, will have offices with closed door. And we've perceived some of the negativity that was feedback. Some perceived that it was unfair because they don't perceive organizational justice. So with SWORD solution, we will provide that. So if by now you haven't seen the little break in the circuit, I will give you some hard facts. So your current situation, you have 240 employees, and your net worth of your policies that are in place that the corporation is making is about $960 million. But however, if we are committed to continue with the status quo, remaining with the problems that are unfixed, you will see a loss of productivity in your employees. The employees will become unmotivated, as well as a risk to psychologically unsafe work environment because of the potential separation of the groups. So then that brings you down to your future situation of a projected new net worth at $384 million. That's a whole decrease of $576 million. That's a lot of money that you could have been making.
So now let's look at where we can go, where we can help you grow in the future. We do want to congratulate you with your initial plan. You have realized that you do need some restructuring in your workplace, and so you have taken the initiative to start making the plan. So you have created Workplace 1.0, but today with Sword Solution, we want to offer you Workplace 2.0, and that's with these 3 points. We want to see an increase in innovation within your employees. Your employees will also see an increase in organizational commitment, and they will be more productive. And thirdly, there will be more cooperation and teamwork that goes hand in hand with the innovation and the productivity. So let's see what we will recommend here today with Sword Solution.
So there's 3 key areas we want to focus on today: training for change, collab life workspace, and engaging assumption life. So train for change. When there's a change implemented in an organization, it is absolutely essential that training is conducted. So we want to first train the new employees that you are planning on hiring, so making sure that there's a smooth onboarding process. So this can be done through different methods such as gamification, maybe making it more of a fun way to join the organization through more of a game where employees can get to know the different aspects of the organization, what you stand for, your goals, your different motivations, and so on. Also, we want to implement the Assumption Life Mentorship Program, where new employees are given a mentor that they can follow throughout their time at Assumption Life, and this person can really be there for them. So if they have any questions, they can give them advice on different things, and maybe the new employee can even bring forward their own ideas. And as everyone in the organization does have different ideas and opinions. Also, the training current Assumption Life family, as you had put it. So with the new change in your organization in terms of the workspace, it is important that employees know why this change is being made and how it is going to be implemented. So we suggest doing a coffee with Assumption Life morning. So you will be there, present, and explaining the whole change that will be made within the organization, answer any questions that your employees may have. And this will be done in more of an informal setting with some coffee, some donuts, some muffins, so that employees really feel comfortable sharing their opinions and seeking the knowledge. We also want to implement the SWORD Talks. So this is where we will come into your organization and talk to your employees to see what their opinions are of these changes being made, and then we will bring them back to you so you can further and analyze these results. We will also be implementing a training program for the internet, which will be discussed later on.
So moving on to our collab workspace, this is where we're going to be speeding up the innovation process. We want to create an assumption net. This is a platform where people can log online, essentially like social media, Facebook, Twitter, all those connected. And the reason for this is because the innovation or the renovation that you're taking place in your company right now, you're planning to do each floor at a time, and each floor's renovation takes about 3 to 4 months. And you're only renovating about 1 floor at a time, which leaves you with 8 floors. And that's going to take you about 2 years' time, and you're looking to expand immediately in February. We think this is way too long. Instead, we think you should do 3 floors at a time or 2 floors at a time, so that when those employees are placed on the 16th floor, which is currently unoccupied, and then when the 3 floors are then renovated, we can put all of those employees up there. And when we launch this Assumption Net, they can have perhaps a Skype where they could say, Celine is now in this office on this floor, maybe negotiating with my teammate or negotiating with a client, something like that, so that it updates my team members of where my whereabouts are at all times. So the new workspace design, like I mentioned, where we'll probably implement office space in each floor, where you will have more modern boardrooms where anyone can book and have access to, so that they have privacy, as well as the Assumption Life Chill Lounge. So on each floor, maybe we'll have a little coffee station or a little dessert station for every morning with muffins and donuts, so that everyone can be engaged, so that they go there for the mornings and they can have time to talk and discuss and build that engagement.
To add on what Celine just mentioned with our collab life workspace for your company. So we really want you to imagine the new workspace. You're eliminating most of your offices. That has created some tensions with your employees. We think you're in the right direction, but we want you to take a little curve with us here. So you will have office offices just for the managers on each floor. We do understand the importance of private conversation with employees, and so we think the managers are the only one who truly need an office. With the change that is implemented, of course, the culture is going to change. And we do think that changing the work environment and the way the space is placed is very, very important. And so there will be the offices on each floor just for the managers, but the rest of the floor is going to be a common area. Of course, there's going to be some assigned offices, but employees can work wherever they want, whenever they want. They can go in the chill lounge to do their work. And then on the first floor, of course, there will be the more technologically advanced rooms for presentations and clients meeting, because we do understand that there is the one-on-one with, let's say, a financial advisor or someone who deals with insurance and a client. But whenever they work, like Celine said with the Skype, other employees can see where you are and what you're doing and who you're with. And so they're not confused with the work environment, but they have more liberty. And so with that, that will help the culture change and the acceptance of change of your employees. So let's move on to our third pillar, engaging AL. So how are we going to do that? We want to engage your employees. You mentioned a lot of time in the case that you want your employees to feel empowered at all times. And so that is what this pillar is going to do for Assumption Life. So we want shadow hours. So that will be an opportunity for your employees to go through cross-learning, cross-training. So once in a while, it will be a program where they can simply apply online or go directly to one of their coworkers and ask. And once in a while, they can just shadow a coworker, see what they do, and then at that point, that's going to help to bridge the gap between the two generations. They're going to they're going to get to know their other coworkers in more of an informal setting while learning what they do as well. That will help with respect as well as psychological safety. There's also going to be team building volunteer hours. We think that another kind of informal setting is very important for your employees to feel empowered and to get to know each other a little bit more. Something like you currently have the foundation, but something like Habitat for Humanity. Everyone feels very, very good if 1 day or 2 days a year, everyone in the company or half the employees in different days go and volunteer. They will feel empowered and they'll be able to get to know their coworkers as well. And finally, life hours for Assumption Life. So about 40 to 60 hours a year will be dedicated to life hours. So you already have, like I mentioned, the foundation. And so you give back to your community all the time, and we do congratulate you on that. We find that very impressive here at Sword Consulting. But we want you to do it in a non-monetary way as well. And so that's going to be, for example, like a competition like this. Your employees have so much knowledge in the financial world, and so they can give back and, let's say, coach a team at a local university or give workshops to university students on the importance of different financial aspects. And so that's going to be still paid time for them, but they're going to feel empowered, they're going to feel valued, and so they're going to be more satisfied at work. Now let's move on to the delivery part of the presentation. How are we going to implement all those amazing solutions that we're very excited about?
So for the train for change, in the first 0 to 2 months, we want to first design the onboarding process. So this is where we'll be sitting down with you, helping you design the most effective onboarding process in order to ensure that everyone knows what is expected of them when they join your organization. This will also have the gamification and maybe potential challenges even, maybe having little activities for new employees to get to know their coworkers, to really make them feel integrated within your family. Also, we will design and plan the coffee with A&L. So this will involve sitting down with you again and then really determining what exactly needs to be communicated to your employees and making the presentation which will be involved with this. Also designing the training for the intranet. So the new intranet may be difficult to use for some of your employees as they are not used to this technology. So we will be designing a program that will be easy to use, and employees will really get to know exactly what the intranet is for, how they can use it on a daily basis. In 2 to 4 months, we'll host the first coffee at a Assumption Life information session. So this will describe the plan and the vision of the new office space, the work environment that's supposed to increase productivity and in employees. Also, we'll seek employee advice. So this is where we will be going back to your employees, talking to them in little groups, and really having a focus group on figuring out what they think of this plan, and then we'll be returning to you with this information. And then we'll be conducting the SWORD talks, which will be the focus group as well. In 4 to 6 months, we'll host the Assumption Net workshop. So this is the training session will actually be hosted in this stage, and then the onboarding training. In the end of all this, we'll come back and evaluate the training because it is important to make sure that employees actually retain the information that they learn.
Absolutely. So the key takeaway here is that all your employees will feel psychologically safe. The organizational justice will help to be reestablished with this first implementation. So let's look at the collab workspace that Celine explained very well. So first, in the 0 to 3 months, we're going to look at designing the intranet, the Assumption Net, the new system that all your employees will be able to use to communicate with one another since they don't have a very specific office to work in. They can go wherever they want, even if they have that workspace that's always available for them. And then we will hire additional contractors. Like Celine mentioned, we do think that a 2-year period is way too long to implement the whole change. Your culture won't be able to sustain that. And so we need additional contractors to be able to speed up the process of the renovations in February. And then in the 3 to 6 months, as you can see here, we will review the employee feedback that we received from our focus groups. We as SWORD Consulting want to sit down with your employees and get their feedback, get what they're looking for exactly with the new workspace, and make sure they feel comfortable every step of the way. And so we will share that feedback with the managers and the VPs and the CEO, and so we will be able to come up with an exact plan for the design. We do have a very good idea right now, but there might be some things that need to change along the way. Finally, the last period here, the 6 to 18 months, you want to build the new office space. That will be the whole renovation. And then finally launch the Assumption Net once other teams start to come in and get to the new office space. And so the key takeaway here is that we will improve productivity as well as collaboration between your employees. So now let's look at the last implementation.
So engaging in Assumption Life. So this is a crucial step in the process. So in 0 to 2 months, we want to communicate the new initiatives to your employees, making sure that they are aware of the new initiatives that we want to implement, which include the life hours and the team bonding activities to really get the group together, working on projects together outside of the typical day-to-day tasks. We also want to determine what type of growth opportunities employees are seeking within your organization, because everyone is eager to learn new things. People are always looking for opportunities to contribute more to the organization. In 2 to 6 months, we want to implement these new initiatives and begin the shadow hours, which is shadowing employees. So certain employees may want to shadow a manager in different departments or within their own department, and implementing other growth opportunities as well. In 6 to 10 months plus, we will encourage employees to bring ideas forward of other ways to encourage team bonding and engagement within the organization. And we will finally evaluate employee satisfaction by going back to your employees, making these small discussions and having these focus groups.
Perfect. So here, finally, the last key takeaway is that the employees will be a lot more satisfied and so engaged at work with the organizational justice completely reestablished. So the circuit is now completed. Now let's look at some financials.
So now that the circuit has completed, let's talk about the bottom line. So like I said earlier, your currently net worth is $960 million, and our cost of proposed solution is about $10 million. So that cost of solution will include our consulting fees, as well as your temporary decrease in productivity, as your employees are currently probably not working, they're getting used to the renovations, getting used to the training, so a little time may be lost there. And then the intranet design that we will hire a tech team to do, that cost is in there as well. So your new proposed post-implementation net worth is now at about $1.5 billion. So that there will give you an increased employee satisfaction as well as clientele satisfaction as well. So altogether that gives you an ROI of 52%, your consulting fees paid in just 1 month's time. But of course, like every great plan, not everything goes accordingly. So Kimmy, what are some of the risks that could happen?
Perfect. So let's look at a first risk here that our solution might come up with our solution is that some of your employees may still feel jealous about, let's say, some managers having an office and them having spent 5 years in an office being taken away now. So Nikki, how would we mitigate that?
Well, to mitigate this risk, we'll actually go in and have those one-on-one conversations with your employees and see how they would feel more valued within your organization, because each individual is different and they may have different things that make them feel more important.
Sounds perfect. So the second risk here that might come up is that your employees are a bit skeptical about sharing their workspace. They're not used to having to working at different spots on different levels. How would we mitigate that? Once again, Nikki.
Well, this involves reassuring your employees and really focusing on the facts of how these workplaces are beneficial to your work environment and to increasing productivity. And answer any questions and encourage them to come forward with any ideas that they may have to share.
Perfect. And let's look at the third risk here, is that the training is not successfully absorbed by some of your employees, and so they don't really understand the goals. So how would we mitigate that?
Well, this is why we are evaluating the training success and offering continuous training opportunities.
Perfect. So let's wrap it up here. With our sorted solution, your employees, 95% of your employees will be satisfied. 85% of your employees will be totally engaged in the workplace. And finally, 100%, which is always the goal, of your employees will feel psychologically safe with a return on your investment of 52%. So the circuit is now complete by Sword Consulting. Thank you.
My first question is that you talked about taking 2-3 floors at a time in order to make the change quicker. But where do I put people while this is going on, since I only have the 16th floor to put people on right now?
I completely understand your concern. We had the same one at first, and then we looked at the numbers. And let's say on your first floor right now, you have 5% of your employees, second floor 5%, and third floor 12%. And on your 18th floor, if I remember correctly, you have 25% of your employees. So if we add up the 3 first floors, we can move them up to the 16th floor for the first part of the renovations. And so you combine those 3 floors, they move onto the 16th since they're all low percentage, and then you can renovate 3 floors with all the new contractors you hired right away. After that, it's going to be an operational team that's going to come in working with us, but with the 16th floor, those employees can move back in, and then we move 1 or 2 floors at a time depending on the percentage. Does that answer your question?
It does, however, I'm curious to question how you're going to deal with that extra stress put on the staff with so much going on at the same time.
Well, this is why we're going to really explain to employees the benefit of this. And in terms of the actual building of the new floors, we are suggesting that you hire more staff for the actual contractors in order to complete the floors in time. We aren't expecting the same construction team to do the extra work. It would involve more construction, but also this will actually speed up the process, so it puts less pressure on the staff currently, because if it's a 2-year process that they have to go through, continuously responding to change, different teams are responding to the change at different times, it is easier to implement it all at once and then just train everyone together.
Just to quickly elaborate on that, so what Kenny was trying to say was that the first 3 floors were significantly occupied by a lower number of staffs, so that we would put the first 3 floors in the 16th floor. When the renovation was done on the 3 floors that we were operating on, then we would move the people that are on the 16th floor to, you now have 3 floors that you can occupy with, so that when you're renovating the later floors, you have more working space for employees to get comfortable in.
So you wouldn't necessarily put them back where they were?
Yeah, exactly. They could go anywhere we wanted,
it.
which is why we designed the intranet, so that they could communicate at all times. They're not just limited to their floor, they could go anywhere they want to go.
Okay. Okay. I have a question relating to the financials. So you, it's probably a good idea to go back to it towards the end. My question is relating to the new net worth. So I'm just wondering what happened that we got there.
Yeah, for sure. So your net worth here, it's kind of broken down into here. So your increased employee satisfaction and productivity will actually increase your number of clientele. Study shows that 40% of customers remain loyal to a brand when they interact with positive employee experience, and 60% of employees actually retract from a brand when they experience a negative experience with an employee. So by being by having this sort of solution implemented, you will increase your employee satisfaction and productivity, which will have higher outputs produced, as well as a higher number of clientele, attracting more policies and stuff like that.
And this is a plan based on a year?
Yes.
At the end of the project, or in 5 years of the project, or?
Yeah. So our whole implementation process is 1 to 18 months, and this is designed for.
Okay, so that would be at the end of the 18 months.
Yes.
Okay, so for $600,000, I'm not quite sure exactly what am I buying, and also what's my guarantee that I'm gonna have a return on investment of 52%, 95% of my employees will still be satisfied, and 85% will be engaged.
Yep, so consulting fees are calculated per DM, so we charge $1,500 per DM, and we're gonna be there about 1 to 18 months, like I said earlier. Of course, the main focus is the beginning of that time. We're going to be with you 24/7. However, in the later times, it's just where we come back and double check on the progress that was made. And if we take a look back at the KPIs, we're going to conduct a survey before we implement our services and after implementation. This is our goal, and this is what we'll achieve at the end of the second survey that after our services has implemented.
And if this is not achieved, are you willing to put your name and reputation on it?
We will come back for more consulting and ensure, and that was when I mentioned one of the risks. If training was not fully absorbed by all the employees, that's when we come back and further training is enhanced.
Good, thank you.